Hello everyone, welcome to this presentation on price elasticity of demand or PED. Today we will explore what PED is, why it matters, and examine real-world examples of perfectly elastic and perfectly inelastic demand. So without further ado, let's get started. First of all, we need to know what is meant by the term elasticity. Elasticity always refers to a numerical measure of responsiveness of one variable following a change in another variable. So let's say there are two variables and they have some kind of relationship, maybe proportional, maybe inverse. So when one changes and it affects another. So um, it can be very useful in case of elasticity because it measures how responsive those changes are to the following change. Okay, the more responsive the variable is to the change, the more elastic it is. So if the variable changes a lot following the first change in one variable, it means it is more elastic than we expect. The less responsive the variable is to the change, the more inelastic it is. Okay, now we came to the point about price elasticity of demand. It is often referred as PED. It is just an abbreviation for price elasticity of demand. And its definition is as that a measure of the responsiveness of the quantity demanded for a product following a change in price of the product. So it measures how responsive the demand is to the price changes. So we have a formula to find the PED change. This is a change in PED and how to measure it. So we need to find the percentage changes in quantity demanded and price. It can be written like this: percentage change in quantity demanded divided by percentage change in price. So this is the main formula and you will always use this formula to find PED. For example, let's say we have changed price by 10% and following a 10% price change, 5% of quantity demanded was lost. So we have minus 5%. So what does it yield? It gives us minus 1 over 2. So what I would recommend to you guys is you can just neglect the sign of PED in any case because you don't need those signs in any questions. You just need the magnitude of the answer. Here we have 1 over 2. So this will be the main thing. Let's see one more case. We have changed price by 5% and our quantity changed by 25%, actually lost by 25%. So what happens here? We have minus 5 in this answer. So minus 5 is just a like number and we just can take 5 itself. It is the quantity, like magnitude of the answer. So this is what matters most in finding the PD. So now we can move on to the next point. Okay, there are like numerous types of elasticity of demand and two main types are elastic and inelastic demand. So when does demand will be elastic? When PED is bigger than 1, like excluding the sign, when the PED is bigger than 1, we can just say it is elastic demand. So what does it mean? It means quantity demanded changes relatively more than the relative change in price. So it is very responsive to the price change in the product. And price inelastic demand occurs if PED is smaller than 1 and bigger than 0. Keep that in mind. It should be bigger than 0, again excluding the sign. Bigger than 0 and smaller than 1. Only in this case it can be inelastic demand. That means like quantity demanded does not change a lot even when price changes. So it can be said like this. Quantity demanded is not very much responsive to the price changes. So in curves like graphs, you can use some hints to determine the price elasticity of demand without even calculating. Let's say you are given this graph. Here is price, here is quantity demanded. And let's say this is your demand curve. So what can you conclude looking at this? If demand curve is shallow, like near the horizontal, you can just conclude that it is price elastic demand. Because you can draw like this. This is the first quantity demanded, and this is price. So let's say price changed a little bit. It rose. And if you look at that, quantity changed a lot. And if you just look at the steepness of the curve or line, you can just tell without even calculating. And in order to determine if it is price inelastic, you can tell by its another feature. This is graph, and let's say this is your demand graph, demand curve. And keep that in mind. If demand curve is more steep, like near to a vertical line, it means your demand is price inelastic. It does not change much. The quantity demanded does not change much, even though price changes. These are some hints that you can use during your exam. It can be very useful to save your time. And there are also three other special values of PED which can be tricky during exams. So you should be very careful with them. You have perfectly inelastic demand. It means change in price has no any impact on quantity demanded. And you should also be mindful that all of these values are like symbolic, idealized, or conceptual terms. They don't fully replicate any product's feature in real life. They are not existent perfectly in real life. But in theoretical terms, we can do those terms. So first of all, this is perfectly inelastic demand. How does it look like? If we are given the graph, price quantity demanded, it looks like this. Perfectly vertical line. So it means even if price changes in any direction, quantity demanded does not change. And you have unit elastic demand. This means change in price is relatively the same as the change in quantity demanded. So that means it is not any kind of line. It means it is a curve. I can show it here. This is price and quantity demanded. It looks like something like this. It never crosses the lines, and it always changes in the same proportion as the quantity demanded. And now you have perfectly elastic demand. Everything that is produced will be sold at the given price. And as a hint, you can remember that it is a horizontal line. This is price and this is quantity demanded. And if you have horizontal lines, this is perfectly elastic demand. Now we have some factors which can determine or affect the magnitude of PED. So first of all, there is a big group of factors which are called availability of substitutes, complementary goods, and information. Why do they mean? If substitute goods are those goods which you can switch to when the price of your primary good changes. For example, let's say Coca-Cola and Pepsi. If Coca-Cola's price changes, rises, you can just switch to Pepsi. So that means Pepsi and Coca-Cola are substitute goods to each other. And more and closer substitutes mean an easier switch between goods when the price rises. Hence, even a small price change might lead to a big loss in quantity demanded. Therefore, in such cases, demand is price elastic, and it can be very high price elasticity. So it is definitely price elastic demand. I gave Coca-Cola and Pepsi as an example here. And complementary goods also exist. Those goods are such type of products which you can buy together to use them as one complex. Like say smartphones and chargers. You always need to chargers to charge your smartphones. Or let's say pens and notebooks. You always need pens to write on notebooks. So those are complementary goods, and complementary goods always create dependence, and price changes in those might lead to changes in quantity demand for the main product too. Let's say price of the chargers decreased a lot, and in that case people might start buying more smartphones because overall price of those two products decreased, and now people can afford more. That means it can create some special cases for the PED. However, it can only be detected in the case of context. And now we have availability of quality information. And quality information helps consumers to find more information about the products they want to buy. For example, you can take online search engines which can provide you with a list of various programs and products that you can choose from. And what does this lead to? This will always lead to very high competition, and people always want to buy at lower prices. So if there is very high quality of information about the various products, that leads to very price inelastic demand of those products in the same category. And we also have some other factors that can affect PED, and they are also very important in determining those types of PED. So we have nature of the good itself. Let's say the good you're buying is a necessity, that you cannot live without those goods. And such goods are water, food, clothing, shelter, anything like those. And they can be objective according to the type of person. However, those necessity goods will always have inelastic demand, as people cannot live without them, and they always need to buy those goods anyways to continue living. And we have habit forming goods, which are very addictive and obsessive. They can create obsession in people, and it really makes hard for people to give up on using those products. And those products are chocolate, cigarettes, coffee, ice creams, and even from services it can be gaming and maybe energetic drinks, alcohol. All of these goods are very habit forming ones. So they always have inelastic demand because people always want to use and consume those goods. And even price rises, they cannot restrict themselves from using those goods. And the next one is luxury goods, such as cars, jewelry, houses, airline tickets, ship tickets. They are always very expensive and they always have elastic demand, as fewer people can afford them, and any price change in those costs might be very huge relatively to average people's income. So any price change might cause very big quantity demanded loss. So that means they have uh, elastic demand. And goods from well-known brands. Yeah, brand goods are always having inelastic demand. Not always, let's say often having inelastic demand, because people often choose branded goods because they have their opinions, they have fashion, taste, attitudes toward the producer of the product. They want to get uh, populated, and they want to be more popular among people by using those brand new products. There are other factors such as relative expense of the product. It can play a very huge role in determining the PED, because let's say you're talking about matches, like or let's say torch. Torches are relatively very cheap to average people's income. So even if, let's say, price rise by 25%, it can it can't mean a lot of very huge price or part of income in those people's income. So that means people can just continue buying those torches without even like noticing the price changes itself. And the other factor is time period. Time period can also play a huge role, because even if people cannot change their buying strategies in the short term, they can do so in the long term. For example, people can give up drinking alcohol in the long term by being disciplined and determined. So time period is also important. And now let's talk about those examples of products. It can be like price elastic ones, luxury goods such as airline tickets, cars, goods with close substitutes like fast food or energy drinks. So overall price elastic goods often are luxury goods or goods with very close and quality substitutes. And those goods which are priced inelastic are often either necessity, addictive, relatively cheap, or brand products. Let's say you are given unknown product of an unknown brand, and Adidas. You definitely choose Adidas product because you know them, you trust them, you know the quality of their product, and you can sacrifice your money for the high quality. So brand products are always having inelastic demand. And perfect elasticity, such as perfectly inelastic and perfectly elastic demand curves, are conceptual terms, as I mentioned before, and there are no such products in real life. However, life-saving medicines have very low PED, which can theorize them as the perfectly inelastic demand, while products in perfectly competitive markets have almost perfectly elastic demand. And key takeaways from today's lesson are followings. Changing PED is equal to the percentage change in quantity demanded divided by percentage change in price. And elastic demand will always have PED of higher than 1. Inelastic demand will always have PED of PED between 0 and 1. Unit elastic demand uh, will always be having PED equal to 1, while perfectly elastic demand will be horizontal line on the price and quantity demanded graph. And perfectly inelastic demand will be vertical line. And as we talked before, there are many factors that can affect PED and its value. So for now, that's all, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you for your attention. And I would like to ask you something. We are going to record many videos on these topics, and our next video is going to be solving past papers in this topic, and I would suggest you to watch them and ace your exam with our help. And I would ask you to subscribe to our channel. Thank you for your attention, and you can download this presentation from our Telegram group.